Hello, hello, and good evening, future Maryland homebuyers. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jackie Muick. I'm the Advocacy and Communications Administrator for Maryland Realtors. I want to welcome you to our Your Home Buying Keys webinar. Assembled tonight, we have experts in the industry. With us is our very own Director of Advocacy and Public Policy, Lisa May, Catherine Kramer-Dale from Maryland Housing and Community Development, James Hall from Freddie Mac, Dr. Shanetta Malkia Sapp, our local realtor from the PMs of the city, and Scott Phillips from Embrace Home Loans. Tonight, you will get an abundance of information to help you navigate and succeed in your home buying journey. This webinar will be recorded and sent out to all attendees after the conclusion of the webinar. We encourage your questions and we look forward to answering them. Please post all questions in the Q&A box below at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Director of Advocacy and Public Policy, Lisa May. Lisa, take it away.
Jackie, thank you. And thanks to all of you for being here this evening. If your neighborhood is anything like mine, I'm starting to see a lot more listings popping up. Maybe we're getting into that heat of the spring selling season that might have you thinking about, maybe I want to dive into home ownership. Well, that's why we have assembled these experts here tonight, because getting into home ownership, it can seem kind of daunting. There's a whole lot that you've never gone through, a whole lot to know, like some strange terms that get thrown around that maybe you don't understand. And that's why we are here to answer your questions, to take that uncertainty away from you so that you can go into your home ownership journey knowledgeable, prepared, and confident. So I'm going to start tonight by handing it over to our Realtor presenter, Dr. Shanetta Malkia Sapp, who is with the PMs of the city in Silver Spring. And I'm thrilled that she is here because not only does she have a wealth of experience in real estate, she is also the vice chairman of our Maryland Realtors Housing Opportunity Committee. And that group of people are the most knowledgeable, the most informed, the most passionate, particularly about helping first-time buyers and about helping people achieve home ownership. So Shanetta, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about what it is like in today's real estate market and working with a realtor in your home search. So
I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa, for that amazing introduction. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations to you for even thinking about taking that leap from leaseholder to homeowner. And that's a process. So when we think about it in today's market right now, you hear a lot of individuals speaking about the fact that there's not a lot of product on the market. So we're still missing product. You may be trying to figure out what is going on with these interest rates. You want me to buy what and how am I going to afford to buy that? You may be thinking about what is it like and trying to prepare to, what should I start working with first? Do I pull my credit reports? Where do I pull those credit reports? What should I be considering if I'm going into the home ownership journey? So I want to say the first thing that you want to think about is this. What is your income? What is your income and what is your credit score? Those are the first two things I love speaking with my clients about, because I want to understand your backstory so we understand what you're working with, so that when we can actually refer you to a different lender, we can tell you, because every lender is going to have a different product. But we want you to understand the details as to what's going to help them help you become the homeowner. So your credit is one of the second things that I talk about outside of income, making sure when we talk about your income that you have documentation. If you are self-employed like myself, it's very different in buying a home than an individual that is employed. So there are certain things that we want to talk about, getting your tax returns prepared for the last 3 years, having those things together, making sure you have the details, your bank statements, those things in order. So when your lender is asking you for certain documents, you're not saying, where are they? So there's certain things that I like to start gathering together. I also talk about a budget when I'm working with my clients. I want to have an understanding as to what you're spending today and what it may look like for you when you become a homeowner, because it's very different from renting to owning. That leaky faucet in the bathroom that you just called the rental office about, that's now yours. But the beautiful thing about it is you can change it whenever you want to. You can do whatever it is that you want, and you're now, when you own the home, you build up equity. And what is that equity that I'm talking about right now? That's a gift, and we'll get into that a little bit later, because that comes after you become the homeowner and you've paid money into your mortgage, and now you've saved And there's things that you can do with that equity when you think about the kids going to college. But I'm getting excited about some of the big things. So let me bring you back a little bit and talk about some of those first things that I was just speaking to you about. So one, understanding your budget. Where are you at right now today in regard to your household expenses? How much are you spending in rent? And I want you to detail it. I want you to write down everything that you're spending because I want you to prepare yourself when you become that homeowner. What is it that your expenses are going to be? Because it's very different living in a house or a condo, an apartment or a condo compared to living in a home. Its utilities are going to rise. Okay, so you may have some maintenance that you have to take care of. You may be moving into a home where you may thinking about what renovations do I need to do to make this my own? Because you may find some homes that are ready, move-in ready, and you can they're turnkey. You don't have to do anything. But you also may be going into a home that may require a little love, a little tender care, a little repair. And those are the things that I want you to think about. What type of homes are you interested in? Are you comfortable with a condo? Do you need a single family home? Are you comfortable with a townhouse? What are the options? Have you started looking at homes on the market right now and you look at homes, you say, I love that home. Do you understand the price point for the homes that you're looking at? Do you understand how much you're spending each month? What does your debt to income ratio look like? I have a beautiful worksheet that I give a lot of our clients so that they can start minimizing that debt to income ratio because we want to keep you at that 30%. How do we get there, Chanel? You're like, Chanel, what do you mean 30% debt to income ratio? Well, those are the things that your lenders are going to be considering when they're trying to qualify you for your home. So I want to make sure you understand that terminology. I want to make sure you understand how to reduce your debt to income ratio. I want you to understand what it's going to look like living in a condo or an apartment compared to living in a home. I want you to think about your savings. Right now, do you have savings each month? How much are you saving and putting to the side? Because the home ownership process does require a little bit from you. And of course, we have to put a few things down. We have an earnest money deposit that we have to put down. And so when you're putting down that earnest money deposit, and if you want to know what that is, if we go out and look for a home, and I'll tell you about what this process looks like. And I'm going to share my screen just so you can see and not just hear me talking to you. So you may be able to do some screenshots, and this may be helpful for you. So we talked about a little bit about who I am. I am the broker owner for the PMs of the City Realty and the PMs of the City Property Management Firm. So I understand both sides. I talked to you a little bit about what I enjoy in sharing with my clients when we are actually going through the home buyer process. If we're taking our residents and taking them from leaseholder to homeowner, what does that process look like? So we've talked about that. And so now what I wanted to do is to tell you a little bit about what this looks like in detail. So you're going to talk to a realtor, somebody that is a licensed professional in your state, in your area, wherever you are. You want to make sure they're in your market because they should understand your market because every market is going to be a little different. All the different lenders are going to understand what works in those different counties and those different markets, which allows them to bring different tools for you. The Maryland Mortgage Program, one of my favorite babies, because typically sometimes they have the best interest rates and they also have all of these different down payment assistance program options. If you have student loans, there are about 4 products that I really love sharing with individuals. And as we're determining where you are with your debt to income ratio, with your credit score, because that ties in to what programs you qualify for. If you have to take a class for home ownership to see if you understand and if you're ready to take the challenge to take the next steps and becoming a homeowner, there is a process in us actually going through some of the things. And whether you're just getting started or you've been browsing homes online or you've just been imagining things, we want to make sure that you understand what you got to face and what you got to deal with. So I talked to you about making sure you can gather some documents, your income, your bank statements. Those type of things are going to be very, very important. And whether you're buying a house for the first time or you're buying the house for the second or third time, you should be excited. So what should you consider as you're going through this process? Because you can start browsing homes online, but then you don't know what you're qualified for. So I say, if you like window shopping, then please browse right away. But if you want somebody to be able to tell you your buying power so you know exactly what you can afford, there is a difference. When you reach out to a lender, they're going to ask you for some documents. It's basic things. What is your income? What is your credit score? What do you owe? They're going to ask you a lot of questions, going to have you fill out an application. And a lot of times I tell my clients, if you have questions for your lender, call them and have a conversation before you fill out the application. I actually have a worksheet that I give our clients so that they can have the questions to ask their lender to make sure that they understand exactly what each lender is offering and also what products are available. And also so that they understand for their own knowledge what that lender is going to be considering because it still has to go through underwriting. So when you tell me, I ask you a couple of things. Are you pre-approved? And I mean, not just pre-approved when somebody said, okay, I want them to have gone through underwriting because some lenders are amazing where they can actually get you pre-approved and tell you you're pre-qualified, not just pre-approved, but pre-qualified based on the information we've reviewed and verified your information, income, bank statements. They've looked at the credit. They know your debt to income ratio. They can tell you two things. You're ready, or they may be able to tell you what you need to do to get ready. Are you open to changing maybe the mindset that you had and the type of home that you want once you realize what you have to bring to the table? I understand that some of these homes are absolutely beautiful, but what if your price point is about 300 or 400,000? Now we may have to change the type of home that you're considering. You remember, if this is your first house, it may be your starter home and not your forever home. So always leave yourself room and don't get frustrated through the process because it's going to take time to find the home that's what you need. It meets your needs. So you may be browsing some homes on the line. Your lender is going to say you're pre-qualified and you qualify for this amount. You're going to send that letter to your realtor and they're going to start looking at properties. They're going to have a conversation with you. What are your needs? What are your wants? What zip code do you want to be in? What community you want to live in? Is there a school that you need to be by? What's important to you? Things that you should consider. How far it is from work, how far it is for the activities that you love to enjoy. What do you need? Do you need a pool? Does it need to be 2 levels? Does it need a garage? Are you okay with the condo? If you're looking at condos, do you understand what the HOA or the HOA or the condo association dues are going to be each month? Do you understand what that looks like in the big picture so that you can make the proper decision? And when you're talking with different agents, because they're salespersons and they're different brokers, you want to make sure that you understand what their fee is to serve you. Because, a lot of people are very nervous about the proposed settlement with NAR. And I tell a lot of people very simple. It didn't change business for us because we always had a place of transparency. And so as a buyer, yes, you have a fee that is typically paid as a commission to your agent for helping you buy your home. Sometimes it could be covered by the seller, but that's not guaranteed. So all of our buyers have always signed a buyer agency agreement, and it always listed what that buyer was responsible for, whether the seller was going to cover it or not. So that does increase the amount of money and the funds that you need in coming to the table when you're dealing with your down payment as well as your closing costs. Those are two separate fees. Sometimes people think that they're the same thing, two separate things. But when you're working with a lender that is educated, like with the Maryland Mortgage Program, or they're familiar with different loans and different grants that you can apply for to help you layer to bring those costs down. I know that we've worked with different clients that have only had to bring $1,000 to the table. I've seen others have to bring $22,000 to the table. And I could never tell you what you would have to bring to the table because there's so many different factors. Two people can have a credit score of 700 and still have different income levels, debt to income ratios. They can have different amount of savings. They could be putting down on different amounts. So everything is going to be case by case basis. So I would not compare your story to anyone else's story. I would work with the individual that understands your need and understands your big picture. So I want you to think about the neighborhoods. I want you to take your time and do the research. Ride out. It's going to be some nice weather down here soon over the weekend after this rain goes away. So ride out. Where do you want to live? Think about that. What are the needs? What are the wants? Think about that 5 to 7 year period. And then you're going to analyze, identify. We're going to advise you and we're going to help you execute a contract, getting a contract in for you to be able to submit for a home. Let me see here. Why is this pausing on me? I don't think it wants to go. There we go. All right. So there we go. I'm trying to move this along. So we talk about some of the things that are next here. And I think it's going to take us in the right direction. So if it does not, we're going to be fine. Here we go. So we talked about a few things. I just talked to you about this entire process. So after you're going through meeting with your loan officer, getting your pre-approvals, getting pre-qualified, you're going to start touring homes. And this is the fun part, but it also can become overwhelming. I want you to get your cameras ready. I want you to take pictures. I want you to take notes. And when we're out with our clients, we love to walk. And pretty much can tell from the initial first 15 seconds of you walking into a home, I'm listening and paying attention to the body language. I'm listening to you as we go into the different rooms because you're going to see a lot, but you have options. I don't want you to ever feel as though you're tied to one home. And we never wear our emotions on our sleeve in front of anyone because we want to be able to go back and think about the best option that is in your interest when it's time to negotiate. So if we find the home, great. Now we're ready to put in an offer on the home. The home may be listed at a certain amount. You may want to offer less. You may want to offer more. When you're putting that offer in, you're going to make sure that you list some contingencies. Okay? Contingencies. Your offer is contingent upon the following. The one thing that I'm going to say right now, if you ever ask me, Shanetta, because you heard a lot during COVID, people were waiving home inspections. I would never recommend that you waive a home inspection. This is one of the largest purchases you'll make in your entire life. I think you want to know what's under the hood. Think about the car, your first car you brought. And whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, you need to understand what the components of that car are. You need to understand the components of that home. Have your home inspection completed so you're aware of the details as to what's going on in the home, and the inspector can give you the report. You have something to analyze. It also helps you budget your future maintenance for that household. And it also gives you negotiating tools if the seller needs to do some repairs for you as you're getting ready to go forward and decide if you're going to proceed with the home. The lender may also require an appraiser. They want to make sure that the amount that you're paying for the home meets the value of the home. If they say that it's less, you may have to make a decision to be able to have to walk away. And I want you to always be able to walk away because the right home and the right opportunity and the right numbers will work for you. I want you to take your time. Offers will come in. The owner has the right to accept your offer, reject your offer, counter offer. You're going to go through this process. It's going to be like, we're waiting. COVID houses were going in 30 minutes, an hour. Things are not moving as fast like that right now. So you do have some more time. But this is your time to really make sure we have the right fit for you. So when you're thinking about that, when you're going to closing, once all the contingencies have been met, and you get an email that says you are cleared to close. Those are one of our favorite emails, just so you know. If you ever see a salesperson dancing or a broker dancing, that cleared to close email came through. And now it's the time to go to the table. And this is where you're actually going to meet with your settlement attorney, your title attorney, and your title attorney, your settlement attorney, and everybody's going to be at the table. You, the seller, your agent. Sometimes everybody's not at the table depending on how they're closing. But this is the day that you get your keys. This is the day that you go over all of the details that you have been reviewing as you've gone through this process. Your lender will give you the proposed mortgage ahead of time. 3 days before you're actually finalizing everything, you will look over the final numbers to make sure there were no changes. Please make sure you do that. And you can go ahead and we're going to pick the title company. You're going to pick it as the buyer. Sometimes you may see something that seller is offering something, offering you an additional percent or additional bonus if you use their title company. So there's so many different ways that deals can close. But once you're going to closing, you are absolutely set and you can prepare yourself to move into your new home. What we want to do is make sure that you know that no matter which realtor or whom you're working with, that they should be there with you all the way, every step of the way. It's going to be important that you communicate with your salesperson. It's going to be important that you answer emails. It's going to be important that you answer the phone. But more importantly, it's going to be more important that you educate yourself through the process, because this is how you create generational wealth for your families. This is how you change the face of real estate in your communities. You can become a homeowner. A lot of times, a lot of different situations may make it seem as though you cannot, but you can. And if you ever need any help, thank you. Just reach out to Maryland Realtors. There's a realtor that's right in your area that is happy to be of assistance. And I thank you so much for joining us again this evening. If there are any questions I can take, I would be happy to answer.
Shanetta, thank you so much. And yes, please, if you have questions for Shanetta now, or if you even think of some, a little bit along the way, she's going to hang out here with us. And, we will be here the whole time. Now, Shanetta, I know you talked about, all of the different decisions that go into, deciding to buy a home. And some of them are emotional, and some of them require you to be very analytical, and it can be really hard. That's a hard balance to strike. So how does your agent, how does your realtor help you through those emotional decisions and get you thinking, clearly and logically and in your best interests?
I think one of the best things that a realtor can do for any consumer that's looking at buying a home is to help you identify what's important. I think that once you understand what's really important in your new home, in the process, and then you're able to take some of the emotions out, because the emotions are what tie you and say, I have to have this. If this doesn't happen, then I'm going to fall out or everything's going to fall apart. But I don't want you to become emotional, because when we're making emotional decisions, they're typically not the best decisions. I'm just going to say that. I won't tell on nobody else. I'll tell on myself. I made some emotional decisions. I brought a pair of shoes and I had to take them right back because it was emotional. It was emotional and I wanted them, but I had to take them back. So think about that. So if you think about the fact that you don't want to buy things sporadically, I want you to think about the home like that, because there are a lot of things that are going to make it emotional for you. Is it in a neighborhood where your family is, and is that the emotion? Is that what's important? Is it because it's tied to a school or your workplace? Is it that type of emotion, or is it something that's cosmetic? Is it something that can be changed? But your realtor is going to help you separate those components. What are the needs? What are the wants? What type of emotion can you tie to those things? And then always leave room for change. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that a realtor can help you understand, is that life is ever changing. The market is ever changing. Your life and your needs are going to change. So let's make sure we understand what those needs are and leave room for that.
Wonderful. And we had a great question just come in, which is the perfect transition between Shanetta, our realtor, and Scott, our lender. So if you are a buyer and you're maybe 6 to 12 months away from, thinking that you're going to buy, that's kind of your time frame. When do you start working with these real estate professionals? When do you start talking to a lender? When do you start talking to a realtor? Guys, what's the verdict? Too soon? Just right?
No, I like it. I think that you should start at least 12 months in advance, because here's what I've seen some people do. They think that they're ready. They think that their credit score is a certain rate, and it's not. And they're going by Credit Karma, because sometimes they don't understand that that's not what the lender is utilizing. So I think that if we start earlier and then you find out the truth in regards to where you stand with your credit or your debt to income ratio, I think that the earlier you start, the more you give yourself time. And I say that most of you, if you are currently in a lease, you have to give a 60 days notice. Please do not think that you can get things done, find the perfect home. And you can, if you want to stress out, if you want to stress Scott out and say, are we going to clear the clothes by this? And I'll let Scott go into that. But I'm going to say the earlier, the better. Give yourself a minimum of 12 months.
Great. And Scott, how about you? Do
So
you agree?
I'm going to definitely agree with that. There's no starting too early. I love it when I do have a client that is almost hesitant to call me up because they're like, well, we're not really looking for, 6 or 8 months. And you should still get started because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to learn and a lot to do. So, um, so Shanetta nailed a whole lot of things that I'm gonna repeat. She completely nailed it. It was a terrific presentation. But yeah, I love it when people start early. Maybe sometimes some clients think they're gonna buy in 30 or 45 days, and it ends up being 6 or 8 months or even a year because they needed to improve their credit scores or save money or whatever. So I will get into my presentation. Jackie, I think I can share this. Oh, you did it. All right, great. You beat me to it. I appreciate it. Okay. So loans are really made up of three things. Okay. They're made up of income, and they're made up of credit, and they're made up of assets. And right now, I'm going to say that assets are probably our biggest hurdle. Okay. Although, income, credit, and assets. So I'm going to start with what a first-time home buyer is, because some people might know that a lot of programs treat you as a first-time home buyer if you have not owned in the past 3 years. So if you've never owned a home before, or if 3 years have passed and you haven't owned a home, you can be considered a first-time home buyer again and be eligible for certain closing cost assistance that you wouldn't otherwise be eligible for. So income, credit, and assets. If you have really good income compared to what your housing payment is, and really good credit and really good assets, you're in beautiful shape. You're going to get a loan. All right. If two of those things are strong and one's a little weak, we can overcome that and you're going to be in really good shape. It's when we have no savings and you're trying to buy a lot of house for your income and your credit's, on the lower side. That's where we're in trouble and we have a lot of work to do. But we have things that we can do to improve that situation and make 2 out of the 3 really strong. So I'm going to get to that. So as far as income, we like to have 2 years of consistent employment history. Some people think they're not allowed to change a job, but we're okay if you change a job. We like it when people take a different job and make more money. More money is good. It's when you leave an industry that we have a problem, or change your career. So if you're a salaried employee and you go become a real estate agent, that's when we have trouble because now you're a commissioned earner. So it's not a problem to change jobs, which some home buyers think is a problem. That's not a problem. We don't like industry changes necessarily, and we don't like job gaps. So I was working for a year, I took 6 months off, and I'm back, especially for part for non-full-time employees. Okay. So a salary is one thing, and hourly or part-time is another thing. If you're not getting 40 hours a week, every week, and you've got you've got gaps between employment, that's when it gets tough for lenders. So, we can overcome those situations, but it takes more explanations and it takes more work, and we really have to piece together that 2-year history. Okay, credit. If we can scroll down a little more, technically we go all the way down to a 580 credit score and can approve a loan. Now, it's very difficult to get a 580 credit score approved. It means that your income needs to be really strong and you better have some assets or reserves left over in the bank after closing, like maybe a 401k retirement plan with your work. So technically we can go down to a 580, but it is hard to get a 580 credit score approved. Now, we run credit expert reports for almost all of our clients. So if we pull a credit report for a home buyer and it comes in at 582, we're going to run a report that tells them exactly what they need to do to get to a 600, or exactly what they need to do to get to a 620. And the credit expert report will say, if you can pay this debt down to this, and if you can pay this other debt down to this, you'll achieve a 620 credit score. So we run credit expert reports on almost all of our home buyers. Even if we pull their credit and it comes in at a 632, we're going to run a credit expert report, because if they can get to a 640, that will make them eligible for the Maryland Mortgage Program. So we're always looking to put our clients into better positions, even if they have a decent credit score. So credit expert is how we can help people move their credit score. And we've had tremendous success. We've gotten people's scores up 70 points, 100 points. So that's one of the things that we do when, so I mentioned earlier, we want two out of 3 things strong. So we can really improve people's credit scores over time. Okay. And we do it all the time. It's free, it's proven, and it's accurate. Okay. Okay, so let's move down to assets. I really now consider assets my number one hurdle because not a lot of people have a lot saved. Okay. There's tons of closing cost assistance and down payment assistance out there. We love the Maryland Mortgage Program. They never run out of money and they give a lot of assistance. For example, on a $350,000 home, they'll give $17,500 in assistance. Okay. So if somebody is short on assets and only has, let's say, $500 in the bank or $1,200 in the bank, and they come and they make a loan application, we are going to tell them how to get the most closing cost assistance that's available to them in the market. We love the Maryland Mortgage Program. Sometimes we do have to use other assistance programs because Maryland Mortgage does require a 640 credit score and not everyone has it. And they'll require a 45% or 50% qualifying ratio, and not everyone has that. So there are other assistance programs out there. There's tons of money available in Baltimore City. Baltimore City, we've gotten people $37,500. We've gotten them 3 or 4 different assistance programs. So you can tier assistance programs, okay? If we can get you Maryland Mortgage and we can get you other assistance programs, we will, okay? So some groups have a little bit more strict guidelines than other groups. And that's what a loan officer has to do to identify. There's no way a home buyer could learn all of it because I work with it every day and you wouldn't believe what my Excel spreadsheet looks like. Every jurisdiction has money, all right? Maryland Mortgage throughout the whole state of Maryland, which is great. But then every county has a different program and every county's program has different rules. For example, in Charles County, there's $20,000 available to a home buyer, but you have to have lived or worked in Charles County for the last 3 years. That makes things very difficult on somebody going from Prince George's to Charles wanting to get that money, but it's the rule. Now, other counties don't have that rule. So in Prince George's County, there's not a 3-year you have to live there rule. Maryland Mortgage doesn't have a 3-year you have to live in Maryland rule. So there's different programs in every county. So Fredericks is different than Montgomery, which is different than Prince George's, which is different than Charles. And we have to learn all that. And then the Maryland Mortgage Program gives assistance everywhere in Maryland. So you have to rely on your loan officer and your realtor when working through the different programs that are available. So we'll find you money if you don't have it saved, and we'll improve your credit if your credit scores are not there. The income part, that's on you. There's not a whole lot we can do if you haven't been working consistently for 2 years. We can beg and we can plead and we can write letters, but the income is on you. Stay on your job, be consistent. Okay. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'll try to make it quick and wrap it up. I'm probably at my limit. Um, you're going to hear about different agencies, conventional versus FHA versus VA. They all have different rules. Most of my home buyers are FHA. FHA is the most lenient, allows lower credit scores, higher qualifying ratios, and just fits more borrowers. Okay. And then I gave a couple of examples. I'm going to go through a quick example of a $400,000 sales price. Okay. And how we would try to help you with cash to close or getting into a new home. So on a $400,000 sales price, the down payment is $14,000. The closing costs are $13,000 and the escrows are $5,000. So everything totals $33,000. And you say, whoa, I can never come up with $33,000. I can't be a home buyer. Well, yes, you can, because we can get $12,500 from the Federal Home Loan Bank. We can get $10,000 from Wider Path or the Maryland Mortgage Program. Okay, insert Maryland Mortgage there. And then the realtor can negotiate some seller help for you. And all of a sudden, you only need $782 to get into a new home. Now, we can't guarantee seller help, but we'll try to get it for you. Okay, we'll try to get it for you. So I did sort of a fake client. And if you can go down to the bottom, I just want to share one more thing. We run these things through electronic underwriting and we get a refer or an approve eligible. Not one size fits all. That's the last point I want to make. Okay. So somebody who is a little bit stretched from an income perspective and has a low credit score and no reserves, no money in the bank left over after closing, that's typically going to get a refer. Okay. If that same client is stretched income wise, but has a decent credit score and maybe a retirement plan with work that has $15,000 or $20,000 in it, that's probably going to hit an approve eligible. Same income, same ratios, but a better credit score and a little bit of money left over in the bank after closing gets an approve eligible. And then somebody who might not have those reserves, but a really high credit score and the same income probably gets an approve eligible. So my point is, one size does not fit all. Sometimes home buyers want a black and white answer from us, and it's all it's the combination of the three things that we have to massage and make work. So we might get a refer, and then we might improve your credit score, and we might find you some closing cost assistance and turn that refer into an approve eligible. I hope I didn't take too much time, and I'll take answers if you like.
Yeah, Scott, that was great. And I think it really highlights, what a lender can do for you, really in terms of taking your situation and making it the best that it can be. We did have a couple of quick questions about credit reports and credit, pulling your credit. So that credit expert, is that something that is only available to lenders, or is that something that consumers can pull? And what is the cost for that?
Okay, all of my home buyers are very concerned about one extra credit pull, and it drives me crazy because I don't think it's a big deal. And somehow I don't know who it is who's gotten into their minds, don't allow an extra credit pull, because we can do so much more with Credit Expert. Let's say one pull costs you 10 points. Well, we can get people's scores up 70 points, or we've even gotten them up over 100 points. Now, 100 points takes months. But 20, 30, 40 points takes weeks. So we can do so much more to improve credit scores than one pull will hurt. I'm going to say that. And also, the credit karmas out there and the different tools that consumers have are not the same as what we get. And unfortunately, they'll get their credit karma, it'll be 660, and we'll get a 630. We're always lower. Those are soft pulls, and we're hard pulls, and we're always lower. And that's a confusing, frustrating part of our industry that we don't like. And I get how it confuses the consumer as well, but it is what it is, and I don't know what I can do about it.
So even though it is, say, that hard pull on your credit, it's going to pay off. It's going to be worthwhile because you need to know what you need to know.
You need to know what you need to know. All the credit experts that we do are free. The client does not pay for it. So if we get somebody scores up 70 points, we pay for that. We do it to get them into a position to be able to buy a home or to be able to use the Maryland Mortgage Program or whatever.
Wonderful. Well, Scott, thank you so much for that information. I've learned something. So already, this is a great session. So thank you so much for being here. Please keep putting questions in the chat. We will get to those. For now, I want to turn it over to Jim Hall, who is from Freddie Mac, one of those agencies and one of those lenders that we mentioned. And he's also going to talk to you about credit and a really very cool tool that Freddie Mac has to help you make your credit score the best that it can be. So Jim, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, thank you, Lisa. And as always, I appreciate the invitation. You and Maryland Realtors are providing a great service to the folks, in your state by, having these educational webinars. And our audience tonight, I commend you also for, taking an hour out of your busy schedules to tune in. The information that Shanetta and Scott are sharing with you, you can't put a price on it. It's invaluable. The expertise that they're sharing with you will go a long way because we really, really need you to be educated throughout the process. Now, if you're wondering, what Freddie Mac is, I can assure you he's not a person. He's not some Irish guy named Frederick McGillicuddy. We're actually a government-sponsored enterprise, and we were created and chartered by Congress in 1970. We are a mortgage company. So if you're sitting there and saying, oh God, I got to listen to another, mortgage spiel, I'm not going to do that to you because we don't lend directly to the public. So I'm not in competition with Scott and Embrace Home Loans. We're in what's called the secondary mortgage market. So by being a government agency, we purchase loans from lenders like Embrace Home Loans and also the Maryland Mortgage Program. And then we put them into investment pools. So we provide the cash, the liquidity back into the market so lending can, continue and be performed. So that's important to know. So also, we have many, many major mortgage products. And I'm not going to do a deep dive because I'll be stepping on my friend Catherine's toes because she's going to be going over one of the programs that we provide the lenders like Scott to use, and it's called HFA Advantage. There's a myth out there in the marketplace that our conventional loans require 20% down. HFA Advantage and our other loan programs, Home Possible and Home One, only require 3% down. That's better than FHA, which requires 3.5% down. So it's the most, from a down payment requirement, the most affordable program out there, when you're comparing an agency loan versus an FHA loan. So please keep that in mind. And, by working with your, loan originator like Scott and working through maybe the Maryland Mortgage Program, you do have those 3% down options out there. So you don't have to exhaust, all your savings to get into a house. Like Lisa said, I'm going to discuss a product for you that we have. One of our main pillars here at Freddie Mac is education. And, knowledge is power. So the more you know about the process, when you're working, with your realtor and your loan originator, like Shanetta and Scott, the better it's going to be for them because there's going to be less hurdles, less barriers, less road bumps if you're all working together and you have a really good understanding of the entire process. So I'm going to share my screen now. And Lisa, once I pull it up, please give me a shout to make sure that it's up there. Okay.
All right, we got it.
All right, great. Now, Credit Smart is the financial literacy tool that Freddie Mac created over 20 years ago. And this is a free tool for you to utilize. What it is, it will teach you the soup to nuts of the home buying process and the mortgage application process. It doesn't cost you a dime. So, by tuning into this webinar tonight, you can take this away and, really, really utilize it. And there's no financial investment from you that we're not going to require any payment for you to utilize this program. Now, Lisa and Maryland Realtors will share these slides with you after our webinar. So you'll have this to access. But you can see on this slide here in the bottom right-hand corner is the website that will take you right to Credit Smart. Now, we did a major overhaul on it in the past 2 years. It's very interactive. It's very tech-driven. It's multilingual. And what we did, we broke it down into, two sides, which I'll discuss. We have the financial capability side and the homeownership education side. Okay, so I'll get into them in more detail in a couple more slides. But this just gives you an example of the dashboard you can set up for yourself. You can track your progress. You can do your SMART scores, badges. You can set goals. You can have a notebook and really track what you're doing. And I don't want to scare you with this because you can do it at your own pace. And the essentials part, if you're an older guy like me and you had like a bunch of encyclopedias that you used to go to get information out of, I call this like the Encyclopedia Britannica of home ownership. As you can see, there's multiple modules here. It'll help you set goals, how to understand earning and spending, being a savvy borrower, planning to save, and preserving and protecting your asset. Now, Shanetta, during her presentation, made that comment that really, really resonated. This is probably going to be the biggest financial transaction of your life. And, it's exciting to buy the house. It's exciting to get your mortgage approved and go to the closing table and get the house. But there's a lot more to it that home ownership than that. We want to make sure that you preserve and protect that asset at all costs. And planning to save, that is so critical. You need to know how to budget. I can remember, my wife and I, we bought our first house 34 years ago. And I can remember my dad telling me, Jimmy, you got to have a rainy day fund. And I'm like, well, what's a rainy day fund, Dad? And he said, well, things are going to happen when you're a homeowner and you're going to need some quick cash to take care of it. And I'm like thinking, maybe he's telling me this because he just doesn't want me to come to him and ask him for money. But that's not true. He was prophetic. 2 years into the home ownership, my wife and I came home and our basement was flooded. Our water heater went, ruined the carpets, and it was a mess. I listened to Dad, had some money, was able to take care of the mess right away while I put my home ownership claim in with my homeowner's insurance. So that's just a little example of like things that can happen. And, hopefully that won't happen to you when you become a homeowner, but you just have to beware that, you just got to be prepared for anything like that to happen. So this is just an example of the essentials part. And again, you keep this for your whole homeownership journey and it's free to you, no cost. Now for the immediate part, okay, when you're working with Shanetta and Scott through this program, we have the Home Buyer U part. Now, this is only 6 modules. And again, this teaches you, about the home buying process and the mortgage application process. And those 6 modules shouldn't take you more than 2 hours to complete. And once you complete them, you should be really well versed in both aspects of the process. You have to pass a test at the end, and you have to achieve 80% or higher. And you get a completion certificate, which is good for 12 months. And you heard Shanetta and Scott both agree you should be preparing for 12 months during this journey. So this completion certificate is good for 12 months. It meets national industry standards for homeownership education. And to me, that is a major achievement once you go through this and pass that. And then your realtor and your loan originator is going to know that you are serious about going on this journey with them and that you are knowledgeable because you went through this and passed the test. Now, Homebuyer U is available both in English and Spanish. And again, it doesn't cost you anything. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And like I said, Lisa and Maryland Realtors will share those slides with you at the end of this webinar. Hey, Lisa.
Absolutely. Happy to. And Jim, thank you so much. Credit Smart is such an amazing, amazing tool, and you can't beat the cost. It's free to you, but it may also unlock a lot of that home buyer assistance out there because they'll require you to be educated in order to receive it. So free to you, but can put thousands of dollars in your pocket. You can't beat that.
Great point.
All right. Now, listen, you guys here with us tonight are killing it on the questions. I will circle back to those, but I cannot have you leave here tonight without hearing about the wonderful products that the Maryland Mortgage Program has to offer you. They are unlike any that are offered in any other state in the nation. That's not an exaggeration. That's just how it is. And Catherine Kramer-Dale from Maryland DHCD is here to talk to us about those offerings. They're very cool. Catherine, what do you got for us? Oh, you are muted, Catherine. You're muted. We're going to unmute
Are you ready?
Now you're going to tell us about it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. There's like 20 some people on this call. So first of all, I want to thank you guys so much by taking the time and being committed to listen to this. And you have already made that first level of commitment. I'm Catherine Kramer-Dale. I work for the state of Maryland Department of Housing. And yes, I have some amazing programs. Let me tell you, I've been here over 15 years. And when I first came here, we had one product. One product. Now we have so many programs. It's unbelievable. And yes, Shanetta and Scott are amazing. And you have 2 points of contact to start with already. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to take you right to the Maryland Mortgage Program. Our website is www.mmp.maryland.gov. Anybody can get on this website. The tool is really for our lenders, and you have to apply directly with one of our approved lenders. And you have Scott Phillips here with Embrace Home Loans. They're one of our top performing lenders. So they use this website as a tool to make sure that you are approved and meeting the guidelines, like Scott mentioned. Are you a first-time home buyer? Making sure that you are coming in with the correct household income limit, making sure that you've got the assets, making sure you've taken home buyer education requirements. And yes, we also calculate with them the DTI and the credit score. So there are only 6 guidelines that you need to make sure you qualify for in order to use our program. You actually apply directly with the lender. So Scott is on here. Definitely reach out to him, get your pre-approval. He'll help you. He told you he's going to help you make sure you got the credit, make sure your assets are good, and you just need to make sure you keep working and be consistent so that your income is where it needs to be. Then he's going to pass you on to the agent, and you're going to have that pre-approval, that golden ticket that's going to allow you then to go shopping with Shanetta so that you can look for a house that is in your approval budget. On this website, www.mmp, Maryland Mortgage Program.maryland, MARYLAND.gov. I'm going to go right to the interest rates. I'm going to open up this printable rate sheet. The lenders come here when they see that a borrower qualifies and they see that a borrower is looking to purchase a home. We have products that are called the flex products, where you do not have to be a first-time home buyer. You still have to have the household income, the assets, home buyer education, DTI, credit score, but you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You just cannot own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. And the reason why we don't want you to own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing is this property that you're buying and you're using our program to help you with down payment and or closing cost, it has to be your primary residence. As long as you have a loan with the Maryland Mortgage Program, you cannot rent out the property. It can't be used for investment purposes. All right. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen, but you do have to be eligible to work in the United States, and you have to have a valid Social Security number. We do not allow any co-signers. So if you're on the loan, you have to be living in the home. As Scott mentioned, you're not required to stay in our programs for any certain amount of time. Our programs are to help you with down payment and closing costs. So like the example that Scott showed you, after you tap into all these different programs, and we're the entire state of Maryland, so it doesn't matter which city or county you're buying in, we're here to provide you down payment assistance, along with, like Scott said, FHLB or Wider Pathway or other programs that the lenders know about, so that by the time you're ready to go to closing, you might need $785, right? The Flex products, we have a Flex Direct, where these are the interest rates for the first mortgage. It's Fannie or Freddie conventional, government is FHA, VA, USDA. We have down payment assistance for $6,000, or we have down payment assistance where we will give you 3% of your total first mortgage, round down, no change. And these down payment programs, they don't have any interest rate. You don't have to make any monthly payments, but you do have to promise to pay that money back when you sell or refi. So again, these are the rates for your first mortgage. This product, you're not getting any money from us because maybe you don't need any. Maybe Scott tapped you into a lot of different programs and you don't need any money from us, so you got the lowest rate. Or maybe Scott tapped you into other programs and you stacked them along with ours. And now this is the rate for the first mortgage. You're paying your mortgage payment, and this $6,000 is no interest, no monthly payments, but you have to pay it back when you sell or refi, or then the 3%. Well, then over on the first time advantage side, we have several programs. So if you're a first-time home buyer and also you meet the income, the assets, the home buyer education, the DTI, the credit score, you have a lot more programs to pick from as a first-time home buyer. This is the rate for the first-time advantage direct. This is a pretty good rate. And you don't get any money from us because maybe Scott got you money from all these other programs. Or you could get down payment and or closing cost. Doesn't matter. You get the money and you use it. Like Shanetta said, down payment and closing costs are two separate things. The money you get from us, we don't care how you use it. You could use it for all your down payment, or you could use it for all closing costs, or you could split it. You could pick $6,000. You could do 3% of your total first mortgage, 4% of your total first mortgage, 5% of your total first mortgage, or some programs we have called the Home Start is 6%. My word, we're giving you all this money. You don't pay interest. You don't make monthly payments on it. You just have to promise to pay it back when you sell or refi. And you're not required to stay in the program for any designated amount of time. We also have some specialty programs where if you are interested in purchasing in Montgomery County, Maryland, Montgomery County has a program where if you work for a particular Montgomery County agency, they have created a program for the Maryland Mortgage Program, and they put money into this. The borrower will get $25,000 of down payment and closing cost assistance. That's a lot of money. And not pay any interest or not make payments. You just have to pay it back when you sell or refinance the house. Or if you're just buying in any Montgomery County area, but you don't have to work for a particular agency, then the down payment here is 40% of your borrower's qualifying income, up to a cap of $25,000. If you're interested in buying in Prince George's County, and you're interested in buying in the city of Greenbelt, Greenbelt said, guess what? If you're buying in the city of Greenbelt and you can prove that you've been renting in the city of Greenbelt, 20770, for 12 consecutive months, this program is going to give you a grant. What's a grant? Free, free. That 15 grand, you do not have to pay it back when you sell or refi. And then like Shanetta brought up, that's what I love about all the partners. They know my program so well. That shows that they're tapping into all of these programs for you. Even an agent versus a lender, they know these programs. The Maryland Smart Buy. If you're sitting on this call and you are a customer that has student loan debt, or you know somebody that does, we will help you buy a house, give you money for down payment assistance if you need it, and we'll help you pay off your student loan debt. We pay off 15% of the purchase price up to the maximum of $20,000. Now, the Smart Buy, you do have to have a credit score of 720. So we figure if you're college educated, you should be pretty smart. You should have a really high credit score. And with this product, that student loan debt, we will pay it off. If you stay in this program for 5 years, the Smart Buy, we will forgive your student loan debt after 5 years. Now, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but we don't have a whole lot of time. I just want to make sure that I threw some of these programs out to you so that you know that if you say, like Scott said, oh my God, I don't have $33,000. I've got a good job. I've got a good credit. I've got I've got, home buyer education. I got all that, but I don't have all that money. We have the money for you. One thing I do want to point out before closing is, as Jim said with Freddie Mac, who is one of our very strong partners, the State of Maryland Department of Housing is a housing finance agency, an HFA. And if you're doing a loan with us through Scott, one of our approved lenders, and you're doing a conventional loan with us, any product on my rate sheet, if your qualifying income is at or below this 80% AMI, which is pretty doable, and Scott will help you determine, then you could very well get a discount on your mortgage insurance. That's a cost. So if you're buying in Baltimore County and the income that you're using to qualify is $97,360 or less, Scott will know, hey, I'm doing a conventional loan with the Maryland Mortgage Program. I can give you a discount, an HFA preferred discount on your mortgage insurance. It will drop from the standard findings of like a 30 or 35% down to 18, 16, 12, or 6. So that is huge. You can't get a discount on your mortgage insurance through anybody else except for the Maryland Mortgage Program because of our partnerships that we have, and you are going through a housing finance agency. As I said, I could go on and on. Our website is a tool for you to use, and by all means, anybody can come on here. It's www.mmp.maryland.gov. And my suggestion is start now. Get with Scott. Have Scott pull your credit. Have him look at your assets. Have him pull everything so that he can get you positioned. I will tell you something that neither one of them mentioned. When you are starting to buy a house, do not buy anything else. Do not buy a new car. Do not accept new credit. Do not go buy new shoes. No, I'm just saying, be committed and say, listen, we are not buying another thing. We're not applying for any credit. We're not signing off like, oh, when you're in the store and they say, oh, do you want to save 15% by signing up for our store credit card? Say, no, thank you. I'm trying to buy a house. So my lender, the state of Maryland, everyone's telling me stop. And if I want to do anything, I'm going to call my lender and say, Oh, my car broke down. Okay, I need to fix my car. What do I do? Always go to your lender and your agent during this time of your purchase so that if you're making any moves, they can guide you as to, okay, you can do that, or oh, no, you can't. I want to thank you guys so much for participating, and please reach out, start now, look for all these opportunities. The money is out here, and the state of Maryland Department of Housing has programs to help you. Thank you so much for your time.
Catherine, thank you. And can you guys believe it? I mean, they'll pay off your student loans.
Yeah.
Other states don't do that. Come on, this is Maryland.
We are the only state that does it.
Right? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now we did still have some questions because you guys, I mean, wonderful questions tonight. Thank you so much for submitting them. I have 2 left in the queue that I think we can maybe crowdsource here a little bit with our panelists. One really quickly, and Scott, I don't know if you're able to chime back in here. One is about how many months a pre-approval letter is good for. And I know historically that's kind of like a 60-day, 90 days, but it may depend on the loan if that's correct. So I don't know, Scott or Shanetta or Catherine, anybody who wants to chime in on that one. I think we're kind of in that time frame.
You are. So all of the letters for our clients have lasted for 90 days. But I will say this, even though they give you that pre-approval letter, as you're going through and you're getting closer to closing, they're going to ask you for your documents. Your lender is going to ask you for your documents again, your bank statements. It may ask you for your pay stubs again, just to make sure that everything is still in order, because you still have to have funds in your account. Nothing can change. And as Catherine said, you're not supposed to buy anything. I know one of our lenders told me a story of he had made a client take a car back. It's like, you want to close? Take the car back. And it's that serious. And I think that outside of not buying anything, you just have to prepare yourself mentally. What's important? So 3 to 6, you get 90 days. They're still going to be evaluating your credit. They're still going to ask you for documents. You're still going to need that. And you just want to make sure everything is consistent.
Yeah, excellent point. We're not putting things on credit cards. We're not furnishing the house yet. We're not doing that stuff. That waits. That will come in time. Now, this question, I've been hanging on to it because I feel like we might have been able to take the entire hour just with this question, because it is. Do you think, and Shanetta, I'll start with you, wiser to buy a fixer-upper or a new home? And if you are buying a fixer-upper, what things should you keep in mind? What costs? And this may get into like what mortgage products you can use for your fixer-upper too. There's a whole lot going on in this question. So I'm going to let you start.
I love it. I looked at that question in the box. I was like, oh, I'm excited about that question. First of all, I'm going to say this. Are you financially prepared for a fixer-upper? Because typically, if you're getting a loan to purchase the house, you're not getting another loan unless you're getting a wraparound loan to be able to cover the actual home as well as the renovations that you want to do. To get a wraparound loan, I'm sure that every lender, again, is going to have a different requirement depending on how much it is, the jumbo mortgages. So there's a lot to consider when it comes to that. So anybody that I'm speaking to, that we have a lot of people that say they're investors, they're going out there investing, they're trying to get into fix and flip. Well, first of all, if you're getting into a fix and flip, I need to make sure that you have the renovation money. So we do full renovations in-house. So I do it the complete from beginning to end. I said from A to Z. So the first thing you're going to consider is what type of money do you have, capital money, to reserve in regard to handling those repairs. You're also going to consider what is that market, what are you keeping that product for? Is it going to be a hold? Are you holding it and going to use it as a rental? What is the maximum rent that you can get for that particular unit? How much income it's going to bring in for the year? What's the cap rate? And I know I'm going kind of fast, but it's a lot. As Lisa said, it's a lot with this question. So if you're going to think about doing this as a flip, there's a lot I want you to think about, because you want to think of how much you're going to pay for it, how much you're going to spend in the repairs, how long is it going to be on the market? What is going to be your profit at the end of it? And what can you really do? So that's one. And what's that margin that you want to stay within? And do you have the money to do it? I'm going to stress that again. Do you have the money to do it? Because during COVID, I saw a lot of properties that were started. People ran out of money, and that's how those properties get left there and neighborhoods start deteriorating. So what else do you want to consider? You want to buy a new house? I want you to think about, everybody thinks you can buy a brand new house and it's going to be nothing wrong with it. It's going to be perfect. And that's not always the case. You may have some warranties, but you may pay a little bit more. Getting a house that you can turnkey and walk in and live comfortably in, and maybe you to remodel the living room first. Maybe in a couple of years you remodel your bedroom or do a closet. It's really going to determine what your goals are. What are you trying to do financially? Are you trying to start creating generational wealth and you start holding properties? Or are you trying to look for a quick payout? Right now, I would say houses are on the market for a little bit longer. So if you're trying to get a fast payday, I would not say that you're looking at going into this market right now and trying to get a fast payday in a 30 or 45-day time frame. I would not say that that's wise. Unless you go to Baltimore right now. Baltimore has an amazing program right now. If you are a resident in Baltimore, you must be a resident. You can look on their map, buy into bemore.com, and they'll have a map there and you can check everything out. But you can buy a home in Baltimore if you're a resident for $1. You have to fix it up and you have to live in the home. Or if you're a corporation, a nonprofit can buy it for $1,000. And a corporation can buy it for $3,000. So there are a list of properties on their website. You can look at that. That's a major investment. You have to know the areas. Again, I've worked in Baltimore for quite a bit of time, and it's like anywhere else. You got to go out there. Don't look at something and say you're going to put an offer and not understanding what you really have to do. We could have a long conversation about that, but it's a lot. Feasibility studies need to be completed, having your general contractors come out, making sure you truly understand everything that's going to be needed to complete this project. I don't want to see you go broke. And I'll let it stop there.
No, that's great. And listen, I will just add one caveat to that. As the married to a new home guy, make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page with, getting a fixer upper too. That's just my advice for the evening. But at the end of the day, for a fixer upper, make sure you're talking to your lender, make sure you're talking to your agent, make sure it's something that you can handle, you can afford, you can fix the way that you want to and get the financing that you need. So again, good communication with all of the folks who are helping you on this homeownership journey. Thank you so much for sticking with us here tonight. We've gone a little over, but I think it was perfectly worthwhile. So on behalf of Catherine, Scott, Jim, Shanetta, I'm Lisa May. Thank you so much for being here. Jackie, you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you so much for your attendance and especially for your little bit of extra time than we originally planned. I hope you got as much out of it as I'm sure we all did. As a reminder, our next Home Buying Keys webinar is on May 9th from 6:30 to 7:30. Please share that date with anyone you think would benefit from this information or another soon-to-be home buyer in Maryland. We wish you all the success in your journey. And if you have any questions, please email webinar@mdrealtor.org. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, you guys.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.